Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. So I'm Lauraline Baheu, and I work at Wavestone as a consultant. So I'm working for the moment for GRT Gas on hydrogen infrastructure. The project name is Mosaic and the Grand Region Hydrogen. But here, today I'm here to talk about women in green hydrogen. I'm responsible in France to develop the network. And my objective today is to present you our mission, our actions, and what can be the added value for you as a person or as an organization. So thank you very much first to Marcella Franchi and Miko Mered, who are going to introduce themselves in a few minutes. And thank you also for Hyvolution for hosting us, because it's very important for us. So maybe just before we start, who here already know Women in Green Hydrogen? Could you please raise your hand? Okay, nice. Yeah, you do. Okay, so Women in Green Hydrogen is a network, an open network for everyone. It's free, everyone is welcome to join, especially women, I need to say. And it was developed in Germany, and then the co-founder were based in Amsterdam, Belgium. Well, it has grown quite a lot because now we are more than 3,000 members. And the reason why we created this network is that we realized that at hydrogen conferences, there's about 20% of women in conferences as speakers, and overall in the energy industry, there's about 30% and 10% even less as a top position. So this is the reason why we created this network, to increase women visibility. And so to do so, we're conducting some actions. So our mission is to connect, empower, and change. And to do so, there are 3 pillars. The first one is that we've created a website with an expert database. So I really invite you to register on this database or to look for women on the database. It can be very useful if you're, for instance, an organizer of event and you're looking for women. It can also be useful if you'd like just to find an expert for your business, so like to conduct interview if you're doing a market research, or just to help develop your career. The second pillar is the events that we're organizing. So there's been events all over the world. And since last year, I've been developing events in France. So we had the first networking session last year, and now we're here. And I also invite you to contact me if ever you'd like to help me as a volunteer to organize some of their events to match all the interests. And the last action is a mentoring program. So I've been part of the mentoring program, and I do think it's very useful. It really definitely helped me to have an objective perception, to help me take critical decisions. And also it's always really nice to share with people about hydrogen, with people like out of the day-to-day business, with people who share the same interest for hydrogen. So I also really recommend to join as a mentor or as a mentee. And yeah, really feel free to contact me just right after this presentation on our website. I'll be very happy to talk more about this. And now I will let the floor to Marcella Franchi, who is also going to show you the added value of the network, and then to Miko.
Thank you, Lauraline.
Come on.
Yes, thank you, Lauraline. It's great to be with you and to see so many women present, and men. I wanted to say a first message to all of you, new and old to hydrogen, and women in particular, is that from my experience, women never had it so good. And it's also due to networks like this. So we must feel that we are blessed. My career started many moons back in financial engineering in London, and I can tell you it was another world. For my mother, it was yet another world. She, for instance, had to ask for permission from my father to get a passport, to get a car, and these were very different times. So we must feel we are very blessed, and we must all keep up this good work. My position at Hafner Energy is Chief Marketing Officer, and I must say that since I joined in April 2021, we have made a lot of progress with regards to incorporating not only women's in the company, but also diversity. I'm very keen on diversity. I think we can learn a lot from different cultures, from different ways of approaching problems, etc. It's not easy environment to incorporate women and diversity always, because Hafner Energy is an industrial company. We provide equipment to produce renewable hydrogen, which on top of it decarbonizes. It's got a negative carbon sequestering footprint, so super. But in industry, it's not always easy to provide the right setup to incorporate women. However, we have achieved 3 great goals right from the top. One is in our non-executive board, we now have gender parity. In our executive board, we have 2 women present, and we have 3 engineer women. So, well done for us. With regards to this network, it's been actually very useful also because we have met very interesting women, and in particular I have here Annette, Sachet Annette, who I met in Brussels and one of these events, and we are now starting a partnership of collaboration. So this is a very important aspect of this network, and I'm glad to see men here also, because it shows that they understand that we need to all work together. For me, the great benefit of listening to women in these new ecosystems is that we are able to work together so that the whole ecosystem works rather than compete. I think that's one of the great attractions we can bring to this new sector. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marcella. Thank you, Lauraline. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone who's come to this roundtable. It's super important that you're here, and I'm so happy to see so many women. That's fantastic. I'm so sad to see so many men, because it means we have a lot of work to do with our male colleagues to tell them, hey, you guys, it also matters to you. No, it's not just a women's thing to care about gender in green hydrogen. So my name is Miko. I am adjunct lecturer at Sciences Po on hydrogen, geopolitics, markets, and diplomacy. And I'm not a gender studies specialist, but I also try to factor in gender aspects in my analysis of hydrogen dynamics. And you're going to maybe ask why. Well, if I'm here, there's a reason, obviously. I don't know if you were there or if you followed the World Economic Forum in Davos last year in 2022. There was a superb moment of sexism related to hydrogen. Are you all familiar with pink hydrogen? Raise your hand if you're familiar with pink hydrogen. Okay, so for a lot of people, it's hydrogen that's coming from nuclear power. For other people, it's other stuff. Let's not talk about this. It's not the problem here. What happened in Davos last year was that the Saudi Minister for Energy at an online event came in and basically joked. He said, well, pink hydrogen is of particular interest to women. Like, why? Well, young Saudi ladies who are becoming girl bosses and great engineers are very happy to see the pink coming along, quote unquote. Sexism, huh? Well, it's not the first time. But pink hydrogen, it's the first time I've heard pink hydrogen being like sidelined as a women's thing. And that's a problem. This is definitely a feat of what some academics have coined to be petromasculinity or pectromasculinism. The idea basically is that gender studies are a useful tool to understand the dynamics within the hydrogen sector, and in particular, the debate between should we go for blue hydrogen based on fossil fuels or should we go for green hydrogen? And what we see is that, well, those who are the boosters for blue hydrogen are almost exclusively men in hydrogen conferences, whereas women are almost exclusively focusing on green hydrogen. So this is one key aspect in which you can see a gender-based divide in the hydrogen spectrum. So I really urge you to look at the work of Cara Daggett. She's an assistant professor of political science at Virginia Tech in the US, and she's the one who coined in 2018 the term petromasculinity. The idea was to basically say, well, we know it goes beyond the tech bros movement. It's basically narratives, dynamics within organizations, in the public space as well, that basically try to obstruct the move towards greener solutions than those based on fossil fuels. So definitely in these spaces, well, you need, like green hydrogen, you need gender parity. You need to go for this better representation of women, because in organizations, in the public space, they bring new narratives, they bring new goals, different perspectives, and often ones that are being sidelined by men, and that's an issue. So that's why I'm really, really, really happy to be here. Thanks again for the invitation. I'm so, so happy to work with more and more and more and more great women leaders in green hydrogen. And I can name some of them, like Valérie Ruiz-Domingo from ENGIE, like Valérie Bouillon-Delporte, like Maëlys Defaille at MEDEF International, like Christelle Verquin and Stéphanie Paysan at France Hydrogène. We have so many in France. We have so many outside France as well. And it's so refreshing. Just one last statistic to end my little speech here. You've said it, we don't have a lot of women, unfortunately, in energy. Only 22% of the global workforce in energy is made of women. In renewable energies, it's a bit better, 30%. In hydrogen, I have no idea. We should definitely do some kind of a Sciences Po study on that. I would be happy to do that. But what's important is that the best event in terms of gender parity that we've had over the past 3 years in Europe on hydrogen, well, we only had 30% of women as speakers in this event. So 30%, is it really the best we can do? Well, not really. Thanks for listening to me.
So I think it's time for questions. If anyone has a question, and then...
I'll pass on the mic. Yeah. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hello. This is Irene Bolea from Hyvolution, Technology Manager. Thank you very much. I was very, very happy to meet, finally, a woman in green hydrogen. I follow you up in the LinkedIn. But one issue you commented on the statistics is about the percentage of tendencies. But I think we have to go a little bit backwards in the time. So how many people in the university study, technical university studies, are we in women? I mean, you cannot translate, you cannot force to be 50-50 in the technical forums if we are not 50-50 in the university degrees, or even before in the secondary school, right? So at least in Spain it's quite well, so it goes quite well. We are a very high percentage of women in engineering, but I've been Erasmus in Austria, for example, and we were like 3 out of 80 or something like that. So yeah, this is my comment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You're totally right. The idea of the network is to first put visibility on the women who are already in the sector, in hydrogen. But then the other idea is to encourage other women, and especially young women, to join the industry or the hydrogen sector. So of course it has also a lot to do with studies, and this is also the reason why we wanted to have Miko on stage with us. And this is also one of the actions that we like to conduct. This is one of the purpose of the mentoring program, which has been set up, because in the mentoring program there's quite a lot of young women who are still studying. And yes, this is also a goal to conduct this kind of actions for young women in France. So you're totally right.
And just to follow up upon this, in my courses, I don't just teach hydrogen stuff. There's also other types of geopolitics. And what I see is that I have a higher concentration of female students coming to all of my other classes but hydrogen. Definitely this engineering or technological aspect is somewhat a deterrent, even in a policy or in a business school. So I could not imagine in engineering schools.
Hi, I'm Marion Henriet from CVE. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's great to see such network existing in France. I was wondering how many people is there in France already in this task force, and how are you working with other countries? As I understand, it's been existing since a little more time.
Thank you. Yes, so we are 3,000 all over the world. So in France, it's hard to say because there's people registered on the database and people are members. I'd say that in France, there's a community already of about 200 people. At least this is the the number that I would say, like where I send invites for networking, so sessions, things like that. And then, how does it work with other countries? It's the first time actually that I am really in charge of developing the network in one country, because in the other countries where it was more about people who do it internationally and then they go abroad. So because it grows, we are structuring more and more. So this is the reason why we say, okay, let's start to develop in one country, because there are specificities to take into account. The context is different. People are not conducting business the same way. So it's the first time we do it this way in France. But then, of course, there's a lot of relationship, and everything I organize so far is in close collaboration with the other women, and especially the co-founders who are based in Germany. Also, what I didn't mention, and I should probably, one of the co-founder. So at the very beginning, it was the initiative of the GIZ, which is the Gesellschaft Internationale Zusammenarbeit, an organization, German organization, to foster international collaboration. So this is how it works. And also, one goal this year is to build ourselves as an association, as an NGO, because so far it's a network.
Thank you. I'm Cynthia Mijares. I work for ULEMCO. And this question is for both of you, Laure and Marcela. I would like to know what piece of advice would you give to young women, not only in the hydrogen sector, but also, Marcela, you have come so far. So what would be your advice for young women?
Okay, my advice for young women is follow your instinct and do what you like. The world is there full of opportunities. Use all your skills. Women have many skills. They're multi-talented. And what I can say is, again, at the beginning of my career, I was surrounded by men in grey suits. The suits were either grey or they were blue. That was my only way of distinguishing people at conferences. And one thing I realized is they all remembered me because I was the one who wasn't wearing the grey suit. So you use all your skills, and whatever it is that distinguishes you, go for it. And foster networks like this. I started late in my career fostering networks. In fact, I'm an alumni of the London Business School, and when I was in Hong Kong, they asked me to participate in a study for improving the MBA there. Nothing to do with hydrogen, nothing to do with my previous career either. But then I moved to Portugal, and they asked me to set up an alumni network there. And it was brilliant for me because I knew very few business people in Portugal, and from one day to the next, suddenly I had the name from nothing. So that's my advice to all of you. Foster these networks, whatever they are. They are very valuable. Thank you.
Yes, and from my opinion, I will have the same advice, is to join such a network, because I really do see the value since I've been taking this role last year. A lot of opportunities started, and I did meet a lot of people, and it really helps to connect with people out of the day-to-day business. It furthers collaboration, sharing information, sharing experience. So to me, it's very, very useful, and also because the hydrogen sector is growing, it's also an opportunity to make it grow with women. I had this discussion with people in charge of human resources, and it's also a challenge for them to find these women, because, as we said before, it's also because there are not that many women who did engineering studies. But still, because the hydrogen sector is evolving quite a lot and growing, it's really right now that we can seize this opportunity to make it as we want to shape it, whether it be physical, like blue, green, whatever, but also with the people we want to have in this sector.
I also have an advice, even though I'm not a woman. Don't listen to the Saudi energy minister. Don't focus only on pink hydrogen. But more importantly, that's why I tell my students, don't forget that it's okay as a woman to rise and to stand up as a scientist, as an engineer. Don't get sidelined, especially when you're more capable of many of your colleagues who maybe have a bigger mouth, like me, but maybe lower competence.
Maybe one last question, because I don't know the time.
Hi, my name is Gayatri. I'm a master's student at TU Delft in the Netherlands, and I'm actually curious about the research side, because you mentioned statistics of women in industry. Are you seeing more women in research at like an academia level, either on the technology or policy side, getting into research?
To be very honest, I don't know. What I know is that the main focus is really to increase diversity. And it's also the word for me, it's not only about women, but it's diversity. So once again, like, I'm not an engineer, and I'm here working in hydrogen with a lot of engineers, and I love that because it's very there's a lot of complementary work. So I don't know how many women there are, but what I do know is that they're very welcome, and that once again, the more diverse we are, I think the more it can be very useful and add value to bring some new ideas, different perspectives, and I do really see it as in my work. The reason why also it works very well as a consultant is that the way I will translate all the hydrogen networks infrastructure, I would say it with my own words, and it's very it can be very useful in terms of communication. So yes, I hope it helps.
Just to answer your question directly, we see a higher degree of representation of women in policy and in hard research. And I think the problem there is that we have many young women that are great scientists, great engineers, and who let themselves being sidelined and go into policy or in research in the lab just because others don't let them have the space that they deserve. So just don't wait for that space to open, just open it, if you can.
Thank you very much. And feel free to contact us.